Jake was all excited to play the Drew Allar choke job against Oregon. And I can't say I was not excited to play that bite because, well, yeah, I feel like there is vindication in this weekend. And again, you guys know, as your humble host, I'm not the one that's always looking to tell you I was right, even though you know I am right all the
Congratulations,
time.
but that's bullshit.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I warned you about Drew Allar, and I will sit here and I will tell you until the cows come home, the best teams in this country have quarterbacks who can stand in the pocket and deliver the football. And I am telling you now, Drew Allar's not one of those guys, and we have a lot of games to get to today. But when you look at Drew Allar and you look at James Franklin and the Knuckle Deep Boys, you clearly understand that when the best teams come to town or they go out on the road to face the best teams, they lose games against ranked opponents because Drew Allar cannot be counted on to deliver the football when it matters most. And Jake, you love talking about James Franklin's record against big teams. I think Oregon counts as a big team.
Yeah, I mean, first thing that's got to be said today is we are not. That's number one. Second thing that needs to be said today is 4-21 against top 10 teams. Third thing that needs to be said today is Monty, I actually disagree with you.
Hey, Monty.
Drew Allar is absolutely a dog at standing in the pocket and delivering the football to the other team, Monty. He is excellent at that. He cost his team a win, in my opinion. A poor decision. I don't know if he was playing hero ball, unwilling to throw it away. I don't know, but that was not a good decision. And you can look at the film, you can look at the play 100 times. I don't know what that throw was. You were trying to get it over the linebacker and in front of the safety and to your guy, and it just was not a good decision with where the play was at that time. And I just think that there needs to be. I don't know. I right after the game, I was like, well, should Oregon be number one in the country? Right. That was the first question that came to mind. Does this win mean that Oregon's number one in the country? And initially I had said, you know what? No, I'm not going to have number one in the country because I still think you got to show you can beat Ohio State. This is a hell of a win. You went to Penn State during their whiteout game and did your thing and deserve a ton of credit. But I don't know. I think that's our overreaching conversation is what does this win actually mean in the grand scheme of things? Because obviously there's this big debate over it.
Oh, I think it's a huge win. I don't think there's any question that when you start looking at what this win meant to Oregon and what this win meant to Dante Moore is head and shoulders now the leader for the Heisman Trophy. I think that when you look at Oregon and really Dan Lanning, if we're being honest, Dan Lanning needed this. Dan Lanning needed a victory that was a resume builder because I think what happened to the Oregon Ducks in the playoff last year was incredibly damaging to his legacy. And I think all that talk's now out the window. His reaction after that game, I think really matters. And I think you start thinking about guys like James Franklin, and I don't know where Penn State goes from here. If we are truth-telling about Penn State versus Oregon, the truth is Penn State's exactly who we told you they were. They do not have a quarterback and they do not have a head coach. And the truth about the quarterback is Drew Allar is slow, he is unathletic, and he is inaccurate. And those three things will kill you at this level and the next level. And I understand the Happy Ending Valley boys and all of the supporters of the Epstein Island totally get it, man. You guys are drunk on the Allar Kool-Aid, and he came back. They had a point to prove. I'll say again what I said last year. Drew Allar came back because he got picked off against Notre Dame. If they had won that game, which they were never in danger of doing, but if they had beaten Notre Dame and Drew Allar had been a reason they beat Notre Dame, he'd likely be in the NFL. But the truth about what happened at Happy Ending Valley against Oregon is Drew Allar probably cost himself the top 3 rounds in the NFL draft, unless there was a remarkable turnaround, unless somehow, improbably, Drew Allar figures out how to read a defense and throw a football accurately. He's not a top 3 round pick. All that nonsense is out the window. What we know is James Franklin doesn't win games, and I don't care what he says in his postgame. James Franklin is wholly unlikable, and he's not a guy that's easy to respect on top of that.
I get that narrative, and it's really not a narrative. It's factual. It's the facts. I get it, but I try to look at the entire picture and what we've been able to do here. But at the end of the day, we got to find a way to win those games. I totally get it, and I take ownership and I take responsibility. At the end of the day, I wanted that for those kids in that locker room. I wanted that for those kids in that locker room. How hard they work, how much they sacrifice, and we had our opportunities. But yeah, I take responsibility.
Oh, he takes responsibility. Why don't you do something to win the game? Why don't you make your quarterback a better quarterback? Why don't you make that defensive line something that it was, I don't know, last year when you had an actual game wrecker on the defensive line? Penn State's defense is good. It's not great. And Drew Allar cannot handle the biggest moments. And until they figure that out, I am telling you now, Penn State does not belong in the conversation for the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how anybody continues to justify it. I mean, I how do you lose that game? Like, and I do think, let me preface, I do think there's a large conversation about giving Oregon and Dan and Dante Moore and their team a ton of credit for what they did, because they did a lot of great things in this game. But as far as Penn State is concerned, I mean, how many times are you going to lose the big game and sit there and say, yeah, I take responsibility? And I would even go a step further and say, how many times is the athletic department going to sit there and lose their whiteout game to Oregon and just be fine with it? Because the reality is this is no longer, it's like, I mean, literally, like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I tend to agree with James. Like, it is the facts. It's not a narrative. It's the truth. Like, a narrative would suggest that it's a made up thing that we're trying to push a narrative onto this team. Yeah. Like, it's not a narrative, dude. It is the reality of the situation. And so, I mean, a narrative would be saying that Drew Allar is a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, which is just not true. And everyone, I watched the entire game front to back. As soon as he threw that touchdown late in the game, the 35, 40-yard pass into the end zone, everyone's like, oh, there's Drew Allar. We've been waiting for this the whole game. And then he promptly gives the game away there at the end. So it's just more of the same. And again, we talk so much on the show about, hey, well, how does the Big Ten stack up against the SEC? Like, it's Michigan, it's Penn State, it's Oregon, it's supposed to be SC, it's supposed to be Washington, well, really, it's and it's Oregon. And sometimes it's Michigan, because while Penn State gets to the CFP, they're never actually a threat to do anything with it. And I'm not sure they should even be going this year after that.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, I think this was a huge moment for Dan Lanning. We talked about it on the show last week. I think Dan Lanning needed this moment. I think there were real questions about his ability to go on the road and win a big game. I think the absolute failure of the playoffs last year was looming large over his resume. But here's the problem for Oregon. I don't think he can have it both ways. Oregon made a lot of mistakes in this game defensively. A lot. Their tackling was not great. I think schematically they were pretty solid, but you had a lot of situations where linebackers were over aggressive, overrunning a cutback, and you saw Penn State try to take advantage of that on the ground. Like, while I think this was a huge win for Dante Moore, I think it was a huge win for Dan Lanning. I don't think this means that Oregon's the best team in the country. I certainly don't get down on that narrative. I think they are one of, but Oregon now has to clean up the mistakes. I think the things we saw from Oregon and this kind of performance tells you, hey, yeah, Oregon's absolutely a national championship contender. I don't even know how you would question that at this point. But I think the really good teams adjust and figure out how to clean up the mistakes. And one of the things that worries me a little bit about Oregon is the consistently over-aggressive defense at the point of attack. We've seen that now for 2 years. I think it hurt Oregon at times last year, and they have not fixed that schematically. And I look at some of the numbers out of this game, and a couple of the things that really worry you is Penn State 6 of 15 on third down and 3 of 3 on fourth down. You got to figure that number out. Obviously, I think the defensive numbers look just gaudy. When you hold Penn State to 139 yards rushing and you hold them to 276 total, that's a pretty good defense. So while I might be nitpicking, I think Penn State's very average offensively. I think they're an elite running team. I think their offensive line is not as good as it has been historically, and I think Drew Allar's just an average-ass quarterback. I expect Penn State to get better as the weeks go on and have a little more discipline at the point of attack. They probably could have had Drew Allar 9 or 10 times. If we're being totally honest, just looking at some of the plays and some of the numbers, Oregon probably could have had him, I think, a minimum of 7 times. But they were too aggressive up front, and it cost them. So you wind up only sacking him 2 times. On top of that, you had 5 tackles for loss. On top of that, you had 3 passes defended. Like, don't get me wrong. I think very largely, Oregon was the significantly better team. But they allowed Penn State to hang around by being over-aggressive up front, and I think they need to fix that.
Yeah, and I think situationally, I completely agree. I mean, you were in a place in this game where, you go up 2 scores, and, you felt great, and Dan Lanning's on the sideline saying it's over and talking junk and everything. And then Penn State climbs back into the game. And frankly, your poor tackling and your poor execution allowed them to do that. So that's why, for me, as I said earlier, I wasn't just right into, hey, Oregon should be the best team in the country. And that was definitely part of it. But I also think there's this part of it where it's like, hey, Ohio State is still, to me, the best team in the country. That's an elite defense. Really good offense. You need to show that you can not only beat Penn State, but you can beat Ohio State. And that's why, for me, if it was my AP, I'd have them number 2. But, I think that this is obviously a good win for the program. Obviously a huge momentum builder. Obviously, and I'll back it up on Thursday. I said, if you go in and you win this game, I will give Dante Moore his flowers, and I'm giving him his flowers, man. He played well, did what he needed to do.
Why did you fight me on it? Why did you fight me on? Are you humiliated? Are you humiliated and embarrassed by your lack of living in Eugene now? Are you humiliated by your lack of respect for my goddamn quarterback?
Well, I don't know what CJ Carr has to do with this, but I don't
want to talk about CJ Carr in the moment. But I do want to talk about.
I don't know what nail painter guy has to do with this. Then
nail painter guy. Okay. What I think nail painter guy has to do with this is, I think when you look at Dante Moore, I think he's been the most explosive quarterback in college football all year. I don't know how many more weeks I'll have to sit up here and have Jakey tell me, oh, dude, no, you're a dumb fat ass. Well, because I'm telling you, I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. I might be fat, but I'm not dumb. I'm telling you, he's been the most explosive quarterback in all of college football. And I think he continued that. And just looking at some of the numbers that he put up, and you start to understand Dante Moore as a passer in this game, I think made very few mistakes. And really, there were only 2 throws where he really put the ball in jeopardy. And his receivers really, I thought, did a great job of preventing the interception.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the way that Kenyon Sadiq, I think Kenyon Sadiq and Dante Moore have that thing where Sadiq just knows where to go, when they just are in sync. And I think Kenyon Sadiq might be the most important offensive player after Dante Moore for Oregon, because I think when he's ready and available, he dominates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that I agree that the wide receivers made plays, no question about it. I mean that one in the fourth quarter, 5 yards down the field over the middle, was going to go right to the Penn State guy, and your wide receiver makes that catch in bucket style.
Yes.
Diving. I mean, that's just a hell of a play. And I also think too, coming into this game, the narrative was that Penn State was bigger and physical and Drew Allar size and the O-line and the D-line. And quite frankly, there were times in this game where you just pushed them around and were running for 6-7 yards a carry at one point. Now, that didn't last the whole game, obviously, but there were just times when you leaned on them and they leaned back. But I don't know, man. I think that, we talk all the time about like head coaches and their intangibles and their teams reflect their will. And I just think that this team has the ability to say, hey, we're in a tough spot, but we don't have any doubt. Like, we're just going to keep playing the game. We're not going to let our emotions, pull us one way or the other, because it would have been really easy. And I agree with people saying, like, dude, if this wasn't Oregon that Penn State was playing, they probably win that game. Like, you probably win this game if you were facing lesser competition. So I think I want to see, I want the Oregon-Ohio State matchup at some point. That's the matchup I want. And I would love to see that who comes out on top with that one. But I'll give you your flowers. I'll give Dante his flowers. He's definitely number one in Heisman now. He deserves a ton of credit for the way he played in this game. And my only hesitation last week was that you just hadn't done it against a team as good as Penn State. You had done it against a bunch of average-ass football teams that no one really respects. So now that you've done it against Penn State at their place, I think there's no question.
Well, and the last thing I'll say is this is one of the most difficult 2-game stretches if all things remain equal, because now you're on a bye week and then you host Indiana. So we're gonna see who Indiana is, and we're gonna see who Oregon is. Look at that, Eric Wasikowski. I have one of the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever sat in my entire life. I hope people understand that. I just couldn't sit like that anymore. Eric Wasikowski, the newest member.
Next comment
of the Marty. What do you mean? Like, we can't celebrate? I mean,
no, I'm not paying any time to Michigan fans today. This is an Oregon show, bro. We're an Oregon show now.
This is an Oregon show now.
Yeah, this is an Oregon show now.
Yeah. Eric, always good to see you. Sorry about the Tigers. I mean, I don't.
Best team in baseball, Monty.
I don't even know how you explain the fact that the Tigers now are on the road, aren't they? And they're the morning game, I think, tomorrow. They're the early game. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're the early game against the Gardos in Cleveland. And you need Tarek Skubal to show up, like, and have a gamer, dude.
Yeah.
Have a gamer.
Signature performance. You need to set the tone.
Yeah, not everybody can be the Cubs and have the entire series at Wrigley Field. It is what it is. Hey, Tone. Oregon and Penn State was the 4th highest attending game in the history of the sport.
Yeah, and I thought it was absolutely gangster that Oregon rolls out with the first possession of the game, and they're playing Mo Bamba, and they're trying to, do what they did to Michigan and J.J. McCarthy's average ass. And Oregon didn't have any problems. Oregon didn't have a false start. Oregon didn't need to call timeout. Oregon just ran the football. Oregon passed the football, and everything was fine. So,
is it me, or is there a real J.J. McCarthy, Drew Allar comparison?
Yeah, I mean,
because I think there is
size. I mean, Drew Allar is obviously bigger than dude, but they're both average-ass quarterbacks.
The way they play, I don't think there's any question that those two are very similar. I don't have any doubt. And man, I've never been happier than I was to see a quarterback fail than I was when Drew Allar threw that interception. Okay, let's move on. Big Pontiff. Franklin is looking like the next head coach at the Oklahoma State. How about Oak State James on Twitter the other day? Oh, I told you, Monty. Because they fired their mediocre ass coaching staff, essentially.
Yeah.
I told you, Monty. I warned you. They're going to fire everybody.
Everybody's getting whacked, Monty. I told you. My source on the sideline called me while I was in the shit box and told me it was happening, and I told you.
Oklahoma State's bad, dude. But again, I want to get into this a little bit, and I'm sure this will tweak some of you. When you look at this ridiculous, terrible,
this is an embarrassment of a poll, dude. I mean, literally, this is embarrassing.
In all seriousness, how does this math at all? First of all, You're putting Virginia in the top 25 and Utah's not in the top 25. Okay, BYU's only at 23. How is Notre Dame in the top 25? And the whole thing, how is Florida State still ranked? Somebody explain it to me. How are we, like, does this thing have any credibility at all anymore?
How's Bama not a top 5 team?
No idea. No earthly idea how Florida State, who got blown out by Virginia, one of the worst teams in the country, Virginia. Oh, I'm sorry. One of the 25 best teams in the country, Virginia. They're not. You explain to me how Florida State is still in the top 25. And are the Knuckle Deep Boys only fall to 7? And you're telling me that Alabama is only 10th after beating Georgia again? And so are you telling me you think so little of Georgia you dropped them to 12th, and Texas Tech, who's on a bye, stays at 11? This poll makes no sense. I will just continue to say the people who vote in the AP poll clearly do not watch college football. No, it's a travesty to me.
There's just no way. There is no way that anybody watching college football this week would have Bama at 10, cock on thigh at 7, and Georgia outside the top 10.
Yeah,
because
I don't get it.
The truth is that if you did watch college football and you do know the narratives and you do know the storylines, you know that Kirby has always struggled against Bama in his career. Now, okay, Nick Saban, all right, cool.
Yep.
I can write that off. Not trying to make an indictment against Kirby, but the reality is losing to Bama like this when it's Kalen DeBoer didn't help your case, Kirby. Still, though, even with that loss, if you watch that game, you're like, yeah, dude, like those are two pretty good teams. They went back and forth, and Georgia actually climbed back into that game after being down a little bit. Like, there's no way Georgia's outside of the top 10. No absolute way no, Texas Tech is not better than Georgia. Sorry, dude, you're not getting that from me.
It's amazing to me, and Steely, I totally agree. There's no way they watch college football.
And I agree with your take on Virginia, dude. Really quick, I agree with your take on Virginia, by the way, in Utah. How the hell Virginia gets this amazing overtime win and everything was awesome, and Utah gets a win, albeit West Virginia, get it, but Utah should be a top 25 team, no question about it.
Yeah, I am. I'm amazed by it. And Steely, nervous times in Seattle for you guys over the weekend. Like, whew, that was a little uncomfortable. And then the second half happened, and everybody woke up. So that's frustrating. Jake is registered with the Green Party. Okay. Yeah. Sooners top 5 for what? Beating a bad Auburn team?
Agreed.
Toot pants. How is Oklahoma at top 5 with a busted QB?
Totally agree with you guys.
No idea. Bama has a bad loss. 10th is about right. But is it about a bad loss, or is it about the 25 best teams in the country? Because I don't care what anybody says. And I don't know that I'm calling Florida State a bad loss. Florida State has a bad loss, but that's the season opener, and it's a blue blood versus a blue blood. Somebody was going to win and lose. But you absolutely crushed Wisconsin. And then I'm telling you, you look at the way that Ty Simpson's playing, and I think it's one of the most under talked about stories in college football, how good Ty Simpson is. Mm-hmm. And we can sit here and we can, make babies over Dante Moore winning the Heisman or whatever it is you want to fantasize about. I am telling you that Ty Simpson is playing really good football. I cannot be the only one who's noticing he's standing in the pocket and reading defenses. No more panic rollouts. He's actually in the pocket, sliding up, like what they call climbing the pocket now. Like, Ty Simpson's actually playing the position, and there are probably not 5 better quarterbacks in the country than him this past weekend.
No,
he's playing that well.
Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with that. And to counter this point right here, if you're going to have that take about Bama, then what are we saying about Texas, right? I mean, how is Texas sitting there with not yet a get back victory on their ledger.
With a quarterback not playing great.
Yeah, with a quarterback not playing great, and they're still sitting there. So, while Tony, I don't disagree that you can, if you feel like it, make a case about the Florida State loss. But the reality is, Florida State until this week had been everyone's All-American, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was all about Florida State. So I don't really want to hear that Florida State's a bad loss. The only reason that was a bad loss is because of all the garbage that you were doing pregame that everyone got on video. Most notably, it didn't look like you were taking it seriously. It looked like you thought you were better than them. And we talked about that. But I do feel like DeBoer and that coaching staff have kind of reset that team a little bit. And you can kind of see they're taking things a little more seriously. And so that's why I just say, I just think that it's really unfortunate that the AP poll has the power it has. And I know everyone say, oh, it doesn't matter, Monty. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
it
does matter.
Poll. It absolutely does matter, dude. It absolutely positively does matter, because the reality is if you're a top 5 team all year in the AP poll, you have nothing to worry about. You're in. Like, you're good. Regardless of whether you win your conference or not, you're going to be in the CFP. But if you're, again, look at, Texas Tech might be the best example. You're idle this week. You're on a bye week, and you just stay right where you are. How does that pan? How does that math? So, I don't know, man. I think that I don't, I'm not going to sit here and profess to say that I watched every single college football game this weekend, but I can look at the AP poll and tell you, hey, Virginia shouldn't be there, right? And we can bandy about who should be there instead of them. I do think it should be Utah. The ASU being at 25, I also think is a bad ranking.
Which is wild.
I just don't know how you have them there, right? And then of course, then I have to graduate to, okay, well, how did we put Ole Miss all the way up at number 4 and LSU is all the way down at 13? It's just too drastic of a swing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I think I could go on about Utah. You made your bed here, right? There's a lot of questions about your program, but that they're ranked behind South Florida is ridiculous to me. It is, South Florida got more top 25 votes than Utah. Come on. And the other things that stand out to me in this poll, there's a lot of defense on this board. And I look at Ohio State, I look at Oregon, I look at Oklahoma, I look at Indiana, Texas, certainly, who I think still is one of the best defenses in the country, if not the. I don't think there's any doubt Kalen DeBoer and Alabama have a defense. Texas Tech, Georgia, you look at the defense, you look at the teams on this board, there are very few high-powered offenses. Ohio State might be one, obviously Oregon's one, but there's, other than that, you look at these teams, Mateer, obviously out, Oklahoma's not high-powered, A&M's not high-powered, certainly the knuckle-deep boys aren't high-powered. Indiana, I think Arch has been bad. I think there are questions about Alabama. Texas Tech, certainly from what we've seen, defense is winning college football games. And at some point, somebody's actually going to take Chaboy's advice and turn themselves into an unbelievable offensive juggernaut, not unlike Oregon, because I think that's what's going to win you the college football national championship. I do not believe. I think the best offenses can beat the best defenses in college. I am convinced of that. I think I look at Oregon. Dan Lanning's a defensive guy, but what does Dan Lanning have? He's got the now leading candidate to win the Heisman Trophy.
Again.
So yeah, I feel like there are some patterns here, and I'm curious at the end of the day who winds up winning this, because I think this is one of the best defensive years we have ever seen.
Yeah, and I would agree that I do think at the college level, and it was on full display with Oregon and Penn State. I also thought we saw a good bit of it with Bama and Georgia. The ability to check at the line as a quarterback is definitely happening more this year than in prior years. I see guys, changing the play. Where are you going to run it? Changing and alternating protections.
It's not optional anymore, man.
But my point is, and I agree, but I just don't think we saw this level of sophistication even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You just
because I think we didn't have this caliber of athlete at linebacker. We didn't have this caliber of athlete at defensive tackle even a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I think when you really look at these teams, this is what I'll say about CJ Carr and Notre Dame. Well, I don't think Notre Dame's one of the top 25 teams in the country. That's just my opinion. CJ Carr is playing a hell of a good quarterback for where he is as a quarterback, as a guy who essentially has zero experience. CJ Carr is playing a pretty high level of quarterback. And Notre Dame, who's at 21 in this poll, it was Arkansas, but they've scored 112 points in 2 weeks, and that's not accidental. And I start looking at CJ Carr, and I start looking at some of the numbers. I mean, he's not throwing it underneath. He's averaging 12 yards of completion. And you look at the fact that he threw for 431 yards. Well, Notre Dame did. But CJ threw for, 354? It's ridiculous how fast he has improved. In the Miami game, and I think anybody that watched Miami Notre Dame, I think it's hard to argue, CJ Carr couldn't operate. Like, it's the same thing with Ty Simpson. These quarterbacks now, I think, are getting such good coaching outside of their coaching staffs, outside of their team's ecosystem, that they are growing very quickly. And I think Ty Simpson, to go back to Alabama, I think Ty Simpson played some of the best quarterback I've seen. Again, I'm going to say, I guess I'm going to stretch my throat for CJ or for Dante Moore, because I thought nobody played better quarterback than he did this weekend.
Sucking a ding dong.
Hey, it is what it is, guy. I just think Dante Moore played incredible quarterback. I'm telling you, CJ Carr and Ty Simpson climbing the pockets, reading the defenses, and these are kids that are inexperienced. Those guys are playing very high level quarterback. And then you have Ole Miss derailing Brian Kelly and LSU, and I don't know how LSU recovers from this, because your defense is not as good as we thought it was going to be. I don't think there's any question that most people thought, hey, LSU is going to have one of the best defenses in the country. And I just don't think that's the case anymore. I think when we look at what we saw at LSU this week and the numbers and notes that I took on that game, LSU, their defense has some questions to ask. Now, to answer. Now, Ole Miss only scored 24 points. But Trinidad Chambliss tortured LSU. And when you throw for 314, a touchdown and a pick, and you run for 71 yards and you average 5 yards a carry, that's torturing a defense, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would completely agree with that. And I think the thing that stands out is what you were just mentioning, that Trinidad throwing only for one touchdown, and Ole Miss running two of them in against that defense. That's the thing that stands out to me, is like, dude, like at some point LSU's got to get it together, and just get control of these games a little bit. I mean, if you look at, again, I know it's the numbers, so if you didn't watch the game, I get it, but like, dude, you're looking at the numbers, and in the second quarter is really where I feel like Ole Miss built the belief they could win this game, because you shut out LSU in the second quarter. You put up 2 touchdowns in that quarter, and you're like, damn, dude, like we just shut them out and took control of this game going to the half. And the hard part was, I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe you also got the ball back to start the second half. So you did what we see all the time in football, where you chain several possessions together throughout the game, and you kind of take control. And it's this whole dynamic of, hey, hey, we're LSU. We have Nussmeier. We've got talent, but we're just struggling to win games that we should win. Because that, to me, is what's hard to get away from here. Like, we can talk about their defense. We can talk about the offense. I agree. 19 points against Ole Miss. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's just unacceptable. It's got to be 27 to 30 points a week for LSU, in my opinion. If you want to win regularly, that's the standard in college football. 27 to 30, you're a great offense. You are going to win with regularity. But 19, less than 20 on the road, I don't care what kind of defense you have, you're probably not winning that game in the SEC.
Some controversy, Jake. First of all, they say that the swap went poorly. So there you go. Okay, we've reshuffled the deck. I feel like I want to lean this way now when we do that.
Yeah, I thought that
Reshuffled
you
the
guys
deck.
got all pissy when I was on this side. I thought everybody got all upset when because it used to be the other way. So you guys need to make up your mind, Like,
Well, you used to be the other way, Jake, but now you're the
Right.
way you are because you moved to the PNW, and I'm just
Right.
like,
Brother.
okay,
right.
I can smell it from here. What? Wait a minute, Joey B. 35-minute mark of the show. Window swap. Monty now right. Jake now left. Okay. Spinner bait. I know Illinois got plastered by Indiana, but Illinois is still a good team. Not elite, but still better than most. I think Illinois beats USC this weekend. And again, another game that I watched a good bit of. And I'm just telling you, I don't know how to put my finger on what Illinois is, but good is not what I would call it. I am remarkably underwhelmed by Illinois as a program. I like Altmaier. I think he's a good quarterback. I think you don't have one running back, which is always in the Big Ten. You need somebody that can be a number one, and then you need somebody who can run behind him because it's so physical. But I don't know that you have that. I think Colin Dixon's a really good wide receiver. I think you have some guys there, but how did you give up 32 points, and how did you get your ass kicked in the second half? Because that's what I can't understand. I think we all know Lincoln doesn't have a defense. I think we all understand that. To give up 32 when you held them to 10 in the first half. And listen, I also think that Jade Mayava is a hell of a quarterback. I think USC's problems are defensive, not offensive. But I am telling you that Illinois is just okay. And Lincoln Riley's offenses are elite. And this offense is no different. It is elite. They can't play defense. Oh, David, this is not a conversation you want to have. I wondered what a horned frog choking sounded like. Now I know how completely disappointing. And we've talked a lot about TCU on this program, right? We've talked about Spike Dykes' kid. I've told you that I think their offense has some uncomfortable moments. I'm going to tell you right now that Josh Hoover, now I'm starting to understand why Josh Hoover isn't getting respect, because he hasn't earned it. Josh Hoover cost, in my opinion, I think Josh Hoover cost TCU this game. And listen, Arizona State's good. It's on the road. Sam Leavitt had a nice night. Totally understand it. Josh Hoover was horrendously bad. And if this is who this team's going to be, where Josh Hoover puts up 9,000 yards a game against shitty teams and then cannot throw a ball in time and space against somebody like ASU who's well coached and ready, just hang him up now. Go find Haas Hengy and screw a new foot on that guy and let him play quarterback. Because I am telling you now, and I feel like we're going to have this conversation all year long about the Big 12. The Big 12 just continues to be right on brand, which is some pretty goddamn mediocre football.
Consistent as hell, dude.
And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And Josh Hoover completely let this team down against Arizona State.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that fourth quarter is a complete choke job by the whole team. And Josh Hoover has a lot of responsibility. There's no question about it. But you're up 24-17 going to the fourth, and you lose 27-24. Sorry, is that on the quarterback on his own? Yeah, he bears a lot of responsibility, no doubt. But it's completely it's just an unacceptable loss. And everyone, and again, I can appreciate this. It's Kenny, it's the Sun Devils. I get it. It's a nice story. Everyone wants to just gravitate to, oh my God, Sam Levitt, Kenny, how do you guys figure out a way to edge this one out, dude? Okay, I get that.
Edging's an interesting word.
Yeah, but the Big 12 continues to figure out a way to mess it up. And I love Kenny. I love ASU. This is not on them. This is on TCU playing bad football after bad football for an entire quarter to throw away a win. And that's what I struggle with, dude. Like, we ask the question all the time, right? And we get criticized for it sometimes. Like, at what point is the Big 12 going to be capable of putting 2 into the CFP? At what
Not
point
this year.
Yeah, it ain't this year, right? It's definitely not this year. There's no way in hell. Like, it's not ASU. It's definitely not TCU. It's definitely not Goldilocks in K-State. It's definitely not, Utah. Like, it's Texas Tech, and that's pretty much it right now. And my God, if Texas Tech loses a game, now we're really going to have a conversation.
Well, and you can say that about a lot of people. I think, well, hell, Oregon. If Oregon doesn't go undefeated from this point, it's a disappointment. But I like Sonny Dykes a lot. I'm a huge fan. I think he's a great dude. This is not a well-coached team. You had an interception because it appears the quarterback threw it to the wrong guy who wasn't looking, and when he turned around, it hit him in the chest on the goal line. That's a mistake you cannot make against a good team like Arizona State, who is well coached and well prepared. And I wish I could say the same thing about TCU. Can't give up 6 sacks in a passing offense and then get your ass handed to you by ASU's offense. Like you can't. It's just, there comes a point. And I think this is the curve that Texas Tech is probably going to face, because Texas Tech is going to find a way to lose a game. Baron Morton, I'm going to continue to say, Baron Morton is the Achilles of the Texas Tech leg, if you will. I look at that team, and I look at TCU, and any team that is wholly reliant on their quarterback throwing the ball repeatedly. What was so great about having Taj Brooks in Tortillaville last year, you have to worry about it. You can just turn around and hand it off to Taj Brooks. Can't do that this year.
You mean Cam Scattaboo?
Well, Cam Scattaboo's an interesting one, but Sam Levitt's raised his level now. Sam's played well certainly better than he had played, right? Because I think when we looked, early this year, he played much better. He was one of the reasons they beat Baylor. There's just no doubt about that. He was the whole reason they lost to Mississippi State. There's no doubt about that. And I think he played very good football. 27 of 39 against any P4 team is really good. But I'm not talking about ASU. I'm talking about Hoover and Dykes and TCU. This league continues to have issues with unbalanced football teams. And you look in the Big Ten, their best team is not only balanced, they're dominant on both sides of the football at Ohio State. I look at Oregon. Oregon is certainly better offensively than they are defensively, but man, they're not bad defensively. We can look at the ACC, or I pick your poison, the SEC. I don't know who the best team in the SEC is, but they're all very good defensively. And I am telling you, Ty Simpson, who's the best quarterback in the SEC right now?
It's got to be Ty. Right now, it's got to be Ty.
I don't mean physical traits, or I'm talking about who's playing the best quarterback in the SEC right now. And the answer is I don't have an idea. And maybe we should ask Congressman, Feinbaum. We got to talk about that story. But I look at the SEC. The SEC right now, their best teams are all really balanced. And so when I look at Texas has arguably the best defense in the country and a quarterback who we hope turned a corner. Probably not. Well, show me. Brian Kelly doing Brian Kelly things, in Death Valley. And again, I know you guys say, Monty, you don't know ball. Well, how did Gunnar Stockton impact this football game? He didn't, which is why they lost. 13 of 20, 130 yards and a touchdown. And they ran for 227. They almost doubled his production running to him throwing. I'll just keep saying, who's the team in the Big 12 that's got a dominant quarterback and a dominant defense? Show me that team, and I'll tell you who's going to win the league.
Yeah,
because it's not even Iowa State, who ho-hum won another football game. Rocco Becht hung like a steer. But does Iowa State scare anybody?
No,
probably not. Probably not. And I wish I could say that Dave Aranda has an elite defense in Waco, because I love the quarterback at Baylor. They don't, which is why they're going to find their way to the middle of the table. And I think at the end of the year, it's going to be Iowa State, BYU, and Utah, because I think they're all really good defensively. I don't know what to say about Bear Bachmeier at BYU. You want to talk about another quarterback that's stunning? Bear Bachmeier is playing incredibly competent football for a guy who a month ago looked like he couldn't throw his way out of the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am stunned, because I'll also sit here and take credit for that defense. They're a bunch of murderers at BYU. I mean, that defense is incredible. To win the game that they won at Folsom, they had no business winning this game. And yet Bear Bachmeier is the only reason they won the game. But I mean, the defense did its job. I wish that LJ Martin had a better game, because he's the best running back in the country thing. Yeah, you can just write that off. You don't go 15 for 58 and no scores and almost get doubled up by your quarterback running the football. But this is the game that you'd look back and be like, yeah, that's why they didn't go to the conference. You remember that game at Folsom? Yeah, where they shat the bed and they really did. Nope, they won this game. And this will be the game now that you look back and you're like, hey, that's where Bear Bachmeier broke out and made those little plays. And,
Yeah, well, we'll find out, because now you're going to play West Virginia, Arizona, and Utah. So we'll get a good idea of what he can really do.
Find out. Bryce Martin, funny, Monty, how quickly that ankle injury got better against West Virginia.
Yeah, ankle looked just fine, didn't it?
I don't know that it looked just fine. He's still missing. And I think people want to take shots at Utah, which I'm here for it. Do it. I think Utah's 4-1, and they've got 2 P4 wins now. And they dominated West Virginia. I understand it's West Virginia, down year. Don't even hate you for it. But I'm telling you right now, if Devin Dampier's the guy you're picking on and you think he was faking somehow, or he doesn't have the twitch that we're used to him having. He only ran the ball 11 times for 33 yards. He averaged like 3 yards a carry and a touchdown. It's not like he's running all over the place. He actually did not look fully healthy. Now, he threw the ball exceptionally well, but what happened? Well, their defense showed up and beat up a really average-ass offense. And much to what Jake's point is, and I don't even disagree with it, Utah has to be perfect now. Utah doesn't have room for error.
Nope.
Because you were really bad against Texas Tech. And now you've got Arizona State. And it's going to be really interesting to see how you wind up playing that game.
Yeah, I just think that the ankle injury thing and the narrative around this team, until they get another big win, like I would categorize Arizona State as a big win. You go and beat Arizona State, okay, cool. That's a good win. No real way to get around that, right?
Yep.
But like, I just think that whether you're a pissy ass Utah fan, if you're disgruntled, or if you're a Utah hater, right? You're sitting here saying, okay, well, didn't really hear too much about the ankle against West Virginia in a blowout win, right? But heard a bunch about the ankle at the end of the Texas Tech game when you didn't do what you wanted to do at home on national TV. And I think that's the issue that people keep bringing up. And to that, I just say, okay, cool. If that's a narrative you want to ride on, cool, man. I agree. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and whatever you want to say happened, you got caught.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad look, dude. It's a bad look. You don't get to not have him on the injury report and then say that he had a bum ankle when you lost the game.
But they're not talking about okay. They're not talking about his ankle being injured. He's never talked about it. Witt mentioned it because he was asked about it. They're not the ones talking about it. I think it's this thing where, especially in this conference, people want to hate Utah. And I say, knock yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
I think Utah has a lot of proving to do. I think they're that team that you justifiably should say that's an average ass football team, because they are until they're not, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I can say is, I don't know who the best team in this league is. And Texas Tech is not going to be tested the rest of the year. I think that they got to go to Houston. And I should say, I should rephrase that. Talent-wise, they're not going to be tested. Will they show up for every game? That's Joey's job. Will they be ready for every game? That's Joey's job. We're going to find out, but my guess is Houston, Kansas, at Arizona State. Arizona State's clearly, I think, their toughest test left on the schedule, because BYU's in Lubbock. K-State's not good. Oklahoma State's ass. UCF and at West Virginia. This conference just, until it gets on board and until you can figure out how to fix it, I just think this conference is going to be
ass.
Yeah, it's going to be average.
That's what it is, dude.
It's not a big, no. Because the Big 12 is not terrible. It's just not elite. It's not. The facts of the matter are, nobody's the SEC. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 10 is a puddle. Like, it is less deep than a puddle. The ACC and the Big 12 don't even have water in the hole at this point, because Florida State can't get out of their own way, and God's favorite team, with Dabo, can't. Again, another quarterback who everybody told me was going to win the Heisman. Turns out he's average ass as well. Like, the ACC and the Big 12 just are not there yet. And I don't know that they'll ever be. What I know is the SEC has the most talent and the best coaching on aggregate. Now, I think Ryan Day probably is the best coach in the country, is what it is. But how many good teams are in the Big 10? 3? Maybe. And right now it's Ohio State by a lot, and then Oregon. Who else in the Big 10 really scares you? Are you really worried about Indiana? I'm not.
Well, I think
I'm not impressed by an Illinois win. Sorry.
But if you're comparing these two, isn't the question like, all right, if you took, let's just say Texas Tech, right now they're top class in the Big 12, let's just say, right? If you took Texas Tech and put them up against Indiana, are we confident that they actually win that game, even if it is in Lubbock? Like,
well, I mean, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I think Indiana's defense would probably snack on Baron Morton's intestines at the half.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But what do I know? I'm just little old Monty. So we'll see. Big Pontiff. The issue I have is that the offense is harder to install than the defense, in my opinion. With the constant churn of players due to NIL, offense is lagging way behind the defense.
Which theoretically should be mitigated on some level with the new portal rules. I mean,
well, good programs do not churn quarterbacks. Good programs do not like. It's what I say about Florida State, and Florida State fans get all pissy. But what happened? You don't turn over your entire coaching staff and be like, okay, we're here to win. How'd that work out at Okie Light? How'd that work out at Florida State? That's where the continuity issues are. That's why Michigan is ass, because you have a freshman quarterback who's getting terrible coaching. You just look across.
Well, I mean, look at Ty Simpson's story, right? I mean, he's the perfect example of what you're talking about, right? Sat behind guys for 2-3 years and now is in and doing his thing.
Yeah. I have the most uncomfortable chair. Like it might
Is there other options? Is there other options?
Not really. Not really. I am in a temporary spot, right? And this chair is just horrendous. Like, it is the most uncomfortable. And I'm even sitting on a pillow, and my sit bones are like, hey, fat ass, can we lose some weight? Like,
damn.
It is. Yeah, it's wildly uncomfortable.
You might need to go get like a bar stool tonight or something, or some kind of.
I don't know. I need something that's got something for something.
Yeah, some kind of padding
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure something out. But anyway, so my point is, we can sit here and have conversations about offenses. I just think there's a lot of bad football being played. So, King of Thailand, Alabama has 2 losses. They beat Georgia. Help me make sense of this, Monty. Well, what do you mean?
Sense of what?
Sense of
the AP or what?
Of what? I mean, first of all, they don't have 2 losses. They only lost to Florida State. So you just beat Georgia, which is why they should be ranked. And I think higher than they are. Highly unlikely Texas Tech to the Big Ten. Who's
Nobody
saying
said Tech's going to the Big Ten.
Why do you guys do this? Oh my God. You guys make my head hurt. Where does stuff like this come from? Where does that even come from? Duck season. Oh, this ought to be fun. Texas Tech will win the Big 12. See, this is what you do, duck season. You come in here with wild predictions and you're never right. Guy, it is September 29th. We have no idea who's going to win the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC. And the thing that people don't understand is Texas Tech has a quarterback debate. Half that room does not believe in Baron Morton, who I'll just continue to tell you over and over and over again. Baron Morton doesn't go on the road against ranked teams and win games. Now, they win games on the road against ranked teams. Baron Morton doesn't perform in those games. He doesn't carry football teams.
Which, again, we saw against Utah.
Until he does that, they're not going to win anything. That's just my opinion. And, the only right-wing duck fan. Duck season making me look bad. Duck season's all right. Duck season's all right. Steely says, read Wasikowski's comment. Why would I read his comment about, again, another guy who makes wild predictions? Bryce Underwood's going to win the Heisman.
Okay.
How's that working out? Oh, God. Stadium. TCU fan James. Indiana looks better now. No, they don't actually look better than they were. This is exactly what Indiana was last year. This is exactly what they were last year.
Yeah.
This year, they have Michigan State, Oregon, Wisconsin, and Penn State. If they can win 3 of those 4, they could get to the playoff. They were in the playoff last year. They don't need to get to the playoff. They need to win the Big Ten. That's the bar. Are they better offensively? Sure. But is beating Illinois at home? Because all of a sudden, Illinois is Jeff George back at Illinois in his prime? Like, all of a sudden, Illinois is this great win for Indiana. Since when? Because I don't see it that way. I truly do not see. And James, let's have the discussion. I don't see in any way, shape, or form that Indiana's a national championship contender. Let's talk about it in 30 seconds after this from the Advocates.
You're not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
100% you deserve an advocate. The advocates understand that when you've been in an accident, it's one of the worst days of your life. You need somebody to give you clear, risk-free advice when you need it, where you need it, and how you need it. If that's in a hospital bed, if that's on a video call, if that's online where you can talk to an injury attorney 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com, they're ready to serve you. They've been here. They've done this. They've fought the insurance companies. Please do not trust your insurance companies. Let the advocates handle the claims process. You get back to the best version of yourself. The advocates will fight for you. And the best part is you're never going to reach into your pocket to pay the advocates. At theadvocates.com, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Joey B says, we need Monty on the right. I'm not playing your stupid games, boy.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude.
I am a leftist. Just ask Waskakowskinator.
We don't take any shit.
Sean, these realignment podcasts, bro.
Every day, dude.
Do you guys understand that there is a movement going through Congress right now that would likely eliminate conferences in college football? Like, there's. So there you go. I feel better. King of Thailand, back wall needs a little more color. Love the logo. Oh, it'll get there. So my wife is a baller. She is currently, we have matriculated to it's parts unknown, Seattle. And so this spot I'm in, I'm going to be here for 2 weeks. And then we'll deal with what comes.
Pack this thing up. We're out of here.
Stuff. You know, it is.
You're going to have to figure out a chair, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, my ass is killing me right now.
Yeah.
It is brutal. Should know better than to say anything Eric says. Steely, you let me down, boy.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude.
I think Big Ten fans are so thirsty, or a certain sect, because Steely's an Ohio State fan. Ohio State fans tend to be a little higher cut. No, I'm not going to do it today. Anyway, the point is, I think Big Ten fans want that conference to be elite, and it's not. It's certainly not in football. It just isn't. And I think it's easy if you're Ohio State because, well, frankly, you're elite, right? Fat Jesus. Wrong. ASU will win the Big 12. They're going to have a real shot. They're going to have a real shot outside of
has already been won.
That's right. Outside of a certain few, I think Arizona State is set up really nicely. This Utah game is the whole damn thing. Because after that, it's Texas Tech in Tempe, Houston at Iowa State, West Virginia at Colorado, Arizona. I think they're better than everybody but Utah on the road. Stylistically. We'll see how that plays out. I think Arizona State is a really good football team. And you guys, I think, know that I am a big knee padder of Kenny Dillingham.
I believe you're the knee padding union president of Kenny's, situation.
I knew today would be shitty.
Dilly's my dude. I mean, I am a huge fan, and I really hope that this conference in the last 2 weeks can have 3-4 teams in contention. A lot's going to have to go right for that, because I don't think you're beating Utah and Texas Tech if you're ASU. I think it's asking a lot. That's my opinion. You don't play the Utah game until the 11th, so you're going to take a breath here, which I think you really need. And I think the fact that you are within 7 days going to turn around and you're going to play Texas Tech and Tempe, that's going to be a hell of a football game. But yeah, you know what? I think that Arizona State's going to have a real chance to win this league.
Dilly.
A real chance.